Yes, people, welcome back to the Kop TV, the voice of football's most famous stand. Liverpool at home to Fulham, Saturday, 3 o'clock. What a time to play a game of soccer, association soccer. It's myself, AGT, and my favourite Fulham fan, probably behind example. It's Jack Collins.
You couldn't get him on, I assume, yeah?
He's been on. Busy
but yeah,
great to have you, brother. How are you?
I'm good, man. It's lovely to be back on. I was starting to feel like, a repeat guest here. Am I Kop TV's most regular non-Liverpool guest?
This. I reckon it's definitely between you or Matty Renton. I reckon you've done about 10 appearances on the Kop TV.
I get like a ball or like a watch at 50, is it?
Yeah, we can have a chat.
One of those Casio.
I'll give you like an island shirt or something.
Yeah, exactly. Fantastic.
Right, guys, smash that like button, get your comments in. We're on the back of just coming back from Barcelona/Girona. Good experience, great experience to be out there. Shout out to the Shamrock for looking after us post-game. Very good place if you're ever in Barca, if you like a Guinness. Great experience. We're back to Premier League business. And because I was going to say Arsenal and City both won last week, they didn't. They drew and they gained a point, but Liverpool still felt like they'd left the weekend gaining 2 points, if that even makes sense. So the pressure is now back on Liverpool to, show everyone again why they're top of the table with that game in hand. Fulham come to town in a sensational run of form, the finest form in this point of the league since 2003-04.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. So big up to you, big up to Fulham, man. They're doing very well. And we played you 4 times last season. We know how you guys play. There's been a lot of
good
slim
battles,
wins,
right?
really good battles. But come into Anfield, give us the context and the feeling after just getting a draw at Arsenal, and how many dangerous players you've got in the team as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's interesting this year about Fulham is that we're discussing a team who have evolved over the course of the 3 seasons in the Premier League. So the first year, obviously, we gave you a great fight on the first day of the season, but that was a weakened Liverpool side.
Jesus, man, at that point I was thinking about Nunes, who signed a world beater, scores on his debut.
I mean, and what a goal it was as well.
It was a nice goal.
But you kind of look at that and you think, that was the only real time we troubled, not necessarily in terms of performance, but in terms of points, the top 6 that season. But we beat everyone around us, we were comfortable, and that was fine. And then you kind of come into the second season, we start dropping a few more points against the teams lower down the league. But last year, we gave a few nosebleeds out, right? So we beat Spurs and Arsenal at our gaff. We had some good... Oh, you're very, very welcome. I thought you were going to open with that, being like, thanks for taking a couple of points off of Arsenal at the weekend.
Yeah, no, big thanks.
Yeah, but it's also one of those where you have to deal with us next.
Yeah, I can't be doing that.
But this is it. Like, I think that Fulham have finally got to a form where we can dominate games against teams around us and below us at home. Now, there are exceptions. The Wolves game, for example. It's not perfect.
Random.
Yeah, random. Weird, just an off day. We can't do coming back from international breaks, apparently. Every single one we lose off the back of an international break. But I think, take that aside, what we've seen is Fulham really kind of run teams over at home this season. And look, the Brighton game was a good example of that. It wasn't loads of the ball, but Fulham just comfortable in the way that they dealt with that Brighton team, who are flying high, right? And then there's this sort of secondary version of Fulham that plays against the big teams. Now, we saw it a bit at Man City away, where Fulham lost 3-2, but probably should have got more out of that game if Adama Traore could finish. If Adama Traore could finish, he probably wouldn't be at Fulham. Let's put it that way. Enough. But there is a kind of level to it where you're thinking, okay, we've shown that we can do that. We go to Spurs, we play them mostly off the park, draw 1-1. If we'd finished that game with 11 men, I think we win it. Yeah. And then we take a point, a good, hard fought, a point against Arsenal the weekend. If Arsenal had won it, I don't think there could have been any complaints if that goal had been onside, given the way that the game panned out. But that shows where Fulham are, right? Like, they're a team that are able to switch formations, switch shapes, switch tactically in order to compete with teams who are going to dominate the ball. And that's what I think is interesting coming to this weekend, because you come up against a Liverpool side who are, by books, but by the tables as well, the best side in Europe right now, flying in pretty much every competition, who have slotted into, no pun intended, this new era absolutely seamlessly, and who look good value for where they are. And I think what's really interesting about Liverpool is that I don't think you've hit form yet.
No, that's the scary thing.
That's the scary thing about this team. Now, maybe they don't, and maybe this is actually the level. And look, it's been good enough so far. If you maintain that level, you win it. And you win it by a country mile. You win it by an April. Well, I think the thing is I reckon you could be undone in a one-off game, right? So like maybe it's not going and winning everything, but you maintain this form, you go and win the Premier League. Yeah. Simple as that. And so what's quite interesting with this one is that obviously you were there. Yeah, the game is your own now. I watched it. You weren't great by any metric, really.
First 10 minutes, we had a couple of chances and press, but after that, it was backs against the wall. That Miguel, the left back, I like him.
Very, very good.
Mikel, maybe I think his name is.
Miguel Gutierrez, isn't it?
Yeah, good player, man.
Very, very.
Of course, you'd know.
Yeah, I do my best.
Asprilla was decent. Danjuma threatened, but against Fulham, when you've got Raul Jimenez on the back of scoring that great, I would almost call that like a Rooney-esque kind of finish across the goalkeeper. Arrowed. We mentioned Traore can turn up once in a blue moon. Emil Smith-Rowe there. Is Pereira fit?
Well, Pereira's fit, but he's currently bombed out the squad bombed out the first team because he basically, an interview came out with him in Brazilian where he spoke.
There's always an interview.
He spoke about wanting to join Marseille in the summer, and everyone went a bit ballistic about it, right? And look, make of that what you will. Fulham also signed a £35 million pound player in Emil Smith-Rowe to play in his position.
That's true.
If that happened to you at work, you might be a little bit fed up that they've gone and spent all that money.
Alex Iwobi, Anthony Robertson, Reece Nelson can now come back in. Harry Wilson, who is a magician of a footballer, I have to say. Bern Leno, Sander Berge, who we were looking at one point. Obviously, the captain scored a nice goal the other week. It's solid, mate. I think Fulham should be where they are in the league. I don't think this is necessarily an anomaly season. I know statistically people might view it as that.
I think Fulham should be higher.
Looking at the table, mate, you've got more wins than Newcastle and United, and by no mistake. It's no mistake that you've done that.
I mean, obviously, it's a bit of a concertina in the middle, right, where everyone's kind of on the same point. So you can go from 13s to 6 in a weekend. Yeah. So it's all a bit strange. But Fulham very much worth their salt in 100%. That middle pack. And I think that what's interesting about this is the shape that Fulham have used against both City and against Arsenal at the weekend. Yeah. Interesting in some ways that they didn't really utilise this against Spurs. It was very much just kind of man for man, let's go for it, and outplayed them. They won't do that against Liverpool. There is absolutely no way that Marco Silva doesn't try and use this formation again that he used against Arsenal, that he used against City, where Fulham basically become a back five. Alex Iwobi slots in the old Bobby De Cordova-Reid role as a right wing back, and his work rate. Iwobi, for my money, has been Fulham's player of the season. Not only has he been scoring goals and making things, but also his work, his ability to carry the ball, his ability to relieve pressure, all of it has been absolutely sensational. This is a player in the prime of his career, in the peak of his years. And
is it anything to do with changing to Sokito boots?
Maybe, mate. I think it's because he's released his rap career. I think it's because he started his rap career. Yeah, and now he's got an outlet to do all the other.
But he's a very good player. Yeah, so on paper, 10th in the league right now, 15 played, 6 wins, 5 draws, 4 defeats. 2 wins in 5, and you're just behind Brentford on goal difference, as well as Bournemouth and Brighton. So again, like you say, if you win this game, which obviously I'm hoping you don't.
No, that's fine. I don't think anyone's expecting to either. Let's
but you did beat us in 2021, but no fans in the stadium. If you can kind of manoeuvre around them, you're looking at maybe getting to a bit of European football this season, mate.
I think we're in the conversation right now.
I would love that for you personally.
Yeah. I mean, look, the Conference League is the dream, and that's the thing for us at this point, right? Obviously, we all remember that Europa League run, and it was incredible times.
I was a Fulham fan that night, mate.
I think a lot of people were, right?
Oh, what a night!
But it's one of those ones where, like, the Europa League, people were at the start of the season were like, we're third in the table and expected points. And I was like, honestly, if you offer me Champions League or Conference League football tomorrow, I'd take Conference League. Because why not have a competition you can take a crack at?
Yeah, but right? 8 games in the Champions League, you'd have a
sure, but like it's one of those where I'm like, I think in a Conference League setup, and look, obviously Chelsea are a bit of an anomaly in there this year, but like, I think Fulham could go and win that competition, or at least go deep in it. Whereas I think that I'd rather go and try and do that again.
100%.
Also, take me to Estonia and Belgrade and all of these random places. That's
exactly Matisse is in Astana today.
Exactly, right. That's where I want to. That's where I want to be.
Big him up. -17.
Yeah, that's very, very cold. But that's where I want to be, right? Chance. So, but this is the thing. I think Fulham are in that conversation. It's going to take a lot more, and it's going to take consistency, and it's something that Fulham have lacked over the last couple of years to actually get there.
Yeah.
But there's been a steady improvement in this side week on week and year on year, and I think that is all you can really ask for a club of Fulham's size and stature.
Yeah, I like the work Silva's doing there. He's got a good squad, and he's adding to it. He's tweaking it. From a Liverpool point of view, Alisson came back and just showed us why he's the best goalkeeper in the world. And you maybe against a better team like a Fulham, a couple of those loose passes and chances for the other team actually go in. So he'll start. Trent, Virgil and Joe Gomez and Robbo will all start. I mean, I've got to shout out Joe Gomez, longest serving Liverpool player.
10 years, wasn't it?
Yeah, I just absolutely adore him. And I was almost at Joe Gomez's first goal for Liverpool, or in his career, I think, at Girona the other night. Great flick on, first 5 minutes. That was the only time when Nunes had them 2 chances. wow, almost scored. So big him up. And there's nothing wrong, by the way. I said this in the fan cams with the Gomez and Van Dijk partnership. It was the same two stalwarts that, you know, guided us to the Prem for most of the season in 18-19. Before that, I think they conceded 16 goals up until a very late part of the season as a partnership. So I love them both. And in midfield, Ryan Gravenberch. McAllister is banned. No, he's back.
Well, he's not, is he? Because he was meant to miss the Merseyside derby. And actually, obviously, the fact that game was cancelled suggests to me that maybe he is not. But then was he banned in Europe as well?
Yeah,
because
he was.
It's one of those sort of strange ones.
Yes, he is also banned.
Yeah, I think it's one of those, because otherwise, I thought if he wasn't banned in Europe, he'd play in that one because he's not able to play the weekend.
I actually knew that. It's just...
Does that lack of rotation hurt Liverpool? Like, obviously it's Tuesday, Saturday.
But no, it doesn't, because we rotate quite a fair bit anyway. I just
thought you looked a bit leggy against Girona,
no,
and
we
therefore
did.
You have another game with the same midfield trio.
I would have brought an Endo a lot sooner in that Girona game.
Was excellent.
And I actually would have brought an Endo a lot sooner in the last Prem game against Newcastle as well. I wouldn't start him in this one though. I'd go Ryan, Curtis and Soboslai.
Yeah.
And then this is the $1 million question at the minute. I would go Gakpo left, Diaz through the middle, and Salah. And then obviously now Jota's back, Harvey Elliott's back. You could also throw on...
Is Jota fit enough to start?
No, I wouldn't say so.
I would agree.
He has to be in the squad. And Chiesa, ¿dónde estás, hermano, Too much injuries. This guy is just...
He's Italian, mate, not Spanish.
I know, but I know. But it's getting frustrating now.
No, of course. I mean, he's meant to be back soon, right? But
I want to see him on the bench for Fulham. It was an illness the other day. He's been out for so long with not really even an injury. It's just gaining pre-season minutes, as they keep saying. So
something
that would
worth
be our
noting
team.
Is that Fulham have real issues at the back this game, because Calvin Bassey picked up a fifth yellow card in the game against Arsenal, which was a little bit harsh if I'm being perfectly honest, but it is what it is. So he's suspended and Joachim Andersen is injured. Now together they've been, I think, for my money, and obviously I would say this, but one of the better centre-half partnerships in the league this season. They complement each other's strengths really well. Yeah. Anderson's long passing, Bassey's ability to cover over the back of Anderson really helps. They've been very, very sharp when they've been together. Diop's come in and done well in Anderson's absence, but with Bassey missing, it does mean that Jorge Cuenca is going to have to play, make his first Premier League start.
He used to play for Villarreal.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, a player who has some calibre, but we haven't seen very much in a Fulham shirt. It is a very, very dangerous place.
Any more injuries?
Nothing hugely major. Tom Kearney remains suspended. It's the last game of his 3-match ban. Reece Nelson out for 10 weeks or something by the looks
10
of
weeks?
it. Yeah, he did his hamstring.
In training?
No, in the game before.
I thought he was just cup-tied against Arsenal.
In the Brighton game.
Oh, damn.
He went. Weeks. It's really annoying because he did his hamstring as Silva had Harry Wilson on to replace him. You can see that, and so looks annoying. Like 10 weeks out. So he's going to be absent, but that means Wilson probably starts.
Which I'm worried about. Didn't he score against us last season?
Well, Harry Wilson, I don't think so, because Harry Wilson never plays well against any team he's formerly played for. So in the games against Liverpool, in the games against Bournemouth, in games against Derby, we had to start leaving Harry Wilson out because he loves his old clubs too much. He doesn't have that in him.
Do you know what? I think he's so good.
I love him.
He's such a good
And
player.
obviously he's now registered in Fulham folklore for that double against Brentford a couple of weeks ago. Just amazing. So shouts out to Harry Wilson always, but I think it's quite interesting in terms of what Fulham do here.
Sander Berge?
So it'll be Berger and Lukic in the middle as a kind of shield. And they've been very, very good as a partnership, a defensive partnership. I thought they were excellent together against Arsenal. Real like getting around, putting out fires. They are two proper sixes. And that probably tells you exactly how Fulham are setting up. Iwobi's going to drop in to that right wing back role. So it basically means that Anthony Robinson can go 1-for-1 with Salah and not have to worry about overlaps coming in alongside him. And that's going to be interesting. Yeah, I mean, look, he is one of the best left backs in the league. There's a reason that Liverpool are interested in acquiring his services.
How much?
You're probably looking at 50 million.
How old?
No, I think he's about 25, 26. But he's also got 4 years on his contract. So you're looking at a player there who's in the prime of his career. Yeah, you'll have to throw in some players, but we'll discuss it over a pint afterwards. But I think you're kind of looking at that, and then it's Berger and Lukic in front of them. The question is, and the big question for Fulham, that kind of picks itself, unless Anderson comes back, and in which case Cuenca drops out. But the question becomes, do you play Emil Smith-Rowe? Because £35 million, Fulham's record signing, huge deal in the summer. But you kind of come to this point, and in the last couple of games against Brighton and against Arsenal, where Fulham haven't had loads of the ball, he's struggled. He was dropped in the game against City tactically, came on a little bit later because I think Silva wanted a bit more industry in those games. Now, I think he wanted to give him the chance against Arsenal, really didn't do much. To quote Karen Benzema, at one point in the first half, he was through on goal, and he was playing against us. But there is that kind of moment where you're like, do you want just a bit of industry in there? And if you do that, and you put Pereira in instead, he comes back into the midfield, it looks a little bit more like a 5-3-2 rather than a 5-4-1, because then Adama goes up front alongside Raul. One, they have an understanding, and two, you can utilise that skill set.
That scares me.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that you want, right?
The thing with Adama Traore is, even if you see him warming up on the bench to come on,
terrifying.
Even if you know, and the evidence shows it as well, that he has a massive lack when it comes to the end product. But even just seeing him, it strikes fear. And I think seeing him come off the bench when you're 1-0 up, 68 minutes, you go, fuck, But if he's starting...
Imagine what the fullbacks are feeling.
Well, yeah. I mean, Robbo's going, Jesus, man.
Really? He's like, really? You're going to let me? Yeah. You're going to let this guy run at me for 90 minutes?
Catch him. He's got bloody baby oil on. So yeah, I think if he starts, it's a different thing to deal with. But then he can go out wide. He can drop off the shoulder. On the half turn, I don't think I'd be more worried about Smith Rowe on the half turn centrally if he's trying to put Jimenez through than Traore. But listen, man, when it comes to a score prediction, this game has notoriously been really tight in the last 2 years. Yeah. And you even beat us 3 years ago now. But
Liverpool are a better side than they were then.
Yeah.
I think they're a more cohesive side. There's no longer the kind of recklessness that I think that maybe permeated them. And look, some of that recklessness is a huge positive, right? And you can still turn that on. So that shouldn't be
still have that gene in us.
Shouldn't be cast aside or dismissed. Like, is a really important thing, I think, for Liverpool. But the idea of just being able to temper it a tad, just being able to turn the dial down for a few minutes when you do have control of games and stop games getting chaotic and basketball-y. All of that is really important. I think Liverpool look like a more in control side than they've been for a long time, and a lot of that, as you say, is down to Ryan Gravenberch and his influence.
Unbelievable footballer this season. And do you know what? The word control is interesting, because I was sitting right behind the bench for the game in Girona, and I could hear everything that the staff, the bench, the manager, the assistant managers were saying. I could hear it all. And at times when the crowd were getting up and they would win a corner or a deflected shot or Alisson saves, Slot always kind of approaches the music, faces it up. And I think at one point he shouted to Curtis and he just went like this. And I went, I don't know if Klopp would do that. Not call in a player and give instructions, he would, but I've never once seen Klopp kind of go, come on, just pass
slow it down.
Yeah. Whereas Slot was just like,
it's almost get your head in it, right?
Yeah.
Like it's kind of just
lock in,
just easy. We're winning. You don't have to go hell for leather right now. We can let them come to us almost.
100%. So yeah, it's an interesting transition between Klopp and Slot, but so far it's just working an absolute dream. Right, score prediction for you. What do you reckon? I'm going to be at the game.
So,
are you at the game?
I'm not, I'm afraid. I'm at a wedding this weekend, which
the
is
last
not
time
ideal.
you came up, I was a great little...
We had a great time. It was great.
Shout out the dispensary.
Yeah, the dispensary.
Finest Irish
park
pub in
afterwards.
Liverpool.
We had a great time.
Yeah.
But
shout out the park as well.
Yeah, exactly. Shout out all the pubs. But I think my problem is that I don't feel like Fulham are going to win this game. I didn't feel like Fulham were going to beat. They didn't beat Arsenal. I didn't feel like Fulham were going to get anything out of the Arsenal game, and we very nearly didn't, right? But my kind of takeaway from this season has been that Fulham are going to give everybody a game. There's not loads of games where you see, even games that have, we ended up on the wrong side of in terms of a score line, like a Wolves game. We were in it, really. It was only the last 10 minutes with 10 men on the pitch that they pulled away. There aren't loads of games where Fulham, get run over. And although this Liverpool side are very, very good, and I can see them winning this game, it's one of those where I look at it and think, well, do I see Liverpool winning this 4-0?
No, that's exactly how
it's not impossible. Right? Like, you're very good. Now, ultimately, that's where we're at. You are the best team in Europe across the board. You are a very, very good side. And there's a reason that you're streets ahead at both the Premier League and the Champions League tables. But I don't feel like Fulham are that kind of side to give up those chances. So my head says 2-1 Liverpool. My heart says 2-2. And we just...
I agree. Yeah, I was going to go 2-1 Liverpool. Just because... I mean, I shouldn't really have to justify that at all, actually. because it's a tough bloody game, and it will be really tight like it has been. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting back in Anfield. I think the 3 o'clock aspect of it really excites me, mate, because it's really, really rare that when I'm in Liverpool, I go to a Saturday 3 o'clock, and there's just something about it. It's a good time. You can go to the gym, walk the dog, have a bit of food, and then head to the pub. A lot of pub chat in this one, which is fine.
Usual.
It's fine. But yeah, guys, let us know in the chat. Lineup predictions. Were you happy with that? Would you make any changes? It looks like we are going to probably drop Nunes for this one, but does Jota, how many minutes does he feature in? Make sure you send in your score predictions as well. And if you're at the game, you know the drill. Come and have a chat to us after the game. Jack, what a pleasure, mate.
Always
great to have you on. I could sit here and talk about football with you all day.
Indeed.
Genuinely, I think the audience would as well. So make sure, I'm going to tag Jack's channel in the title, so make sure you head over there and subscribe, because it isn't just Fulham that this man is an encyclopedia for. It's pretty much across the board. I'm struggling to name 4 teams from the Paraguayan league. See? Got him. Finally
Here he is. Got something I won't know.
Get in there.
Look, there's a couple of bits over on the ranks feed for that Liverpool fans might like. We just did a most improved players in Europe, where Ryan Gravenberch feared heavily. And a couple of weeks ago, we did best teams in Europe this year. So you can have a little listen in that.
I definitely will. We'll link it. Guys, show some love for Jack. Don't forget to smash that like button. Go and watch the vlog from Barcelona. A good time was had. But Jack, if you're watching this, you're a sausage. He allowed me to film for a good 20 seconds without telling me I had beer all over my moustache. So hold that. He actually fell over. It was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. He slipped on an orange peel going through Las Ramblas and did the splits. Anyway, Another time, another story. Get them likes in. Go and watch the vlog. Go and watch the BTS of Injury Time as well, with myself, Curtis, and your favourite man, Harvey Elliott.
Hey man, I got nothing but love for Harvey.
Love him.
That's not joking. Reciprocated, should we say, across the entire Fulham fan base.
I understand. It's fine. So yeah, enjoy it, and we'll see you on Saturday after the game. Take care. All the best.